Okay, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dave, and today we are not in the garage. We're actually in my glamorous laundry room, or a place I like to call Freezer Top Customs. Freezer Top Customs is where my son and I work on our RC cars. Through COVID, I really got back into the hobby of RC cars. I got a little track in the back that I'll show you in later videos. But I just wanted something a little bit different on the channel to show you some of the stuff that I'm working on other than my truck. And today what we're going to be doing is fixing up my original 1986 Tamiya Hornet Basher. I bought this at an automotive swap meet of all things, and it's an absolute blast to drive. I know it's ancient technology, but I really like to drive it. So I'm going to show you what I want to do to it, what I have done to it, and what needs to be fixed. Okay, so let me introduce you to what I've got going on here. Like I said, this is an original Hornet from 1986, and it has been bashed heavily by myself and my son. Let me splice in a video of my son taking it through XRC. Okay, and now that we're back, you can see that this thing sees a lot of abuse. Modifications that I've done to it so far are the wing comes off all the time. So I've added a post with a pin in it to keep it all together, but this is actually broken off. So that's one of the things that I am going to fix. The original ones broke off almost instantly, so I added those. For the eagle-eyed among you, you've probably already noticed that I do have RC10 gold pan shocks. I got these in a part slot and I put them on here again after the original shock mounts broke, and they've actually been working out super well. You can see where it broke and then where I've mounted it to the bottom here. It works out really quite well for what it is. You can also, if you look in there, see the adapters that I've added to mount these wheels and tires. I do have the factory wheels and tires, but these ones work really well, and the factory ones that I have are pretty bald. I know that there are other options for the back end to make it a little less lively, but to me, the live axle is what makes a Hornet, so I did want to keep that. As far as electronics go, it's an Airtronics AM. I do have the receiver, the transmitter. It's a twin stick because Hornet's got to be twin stick. And then I have upgraded it to a Tamiya ESC and a Fireball 15T motor. Stock, everything inside of here. It's all held together pretty well. The ESC does heat up a little bit and go into thermal cutoff every now and again, but the track that I predominantly drive this in is in my backyard, and it's not very long, so it works out really quite well. A couple more functionality modifications that I've done to this just to keep it working is I bent this tie rod pretty bad once, so I bent it back and then I put a split collar over it. So if you kind of look, this is just a mild steel split collar. It's actually kept this from bending again. It's been pretty awesome for that. I've got a hair elastic mounted around the body, plus the servo modification here to try and keep this battery tray from popping out. It still does pop out on occasion, and I've got a broken transmission stabilizer on the back there. That stabilizer is designed to keep the axle from rotating like this as excessively as it does. That's one of the things we're going to be fixing today. The main things we're going to be fixing are, I'm going to remount the wing. I am going to zip tie a bit of this body back together so it's just not quite so floppy. This is the original body. You can tell by the licensed sponsors, Valvoline, K&N, Simpson, all that stuff. I didn't paint this. I didn't sticker it. It came like that. Obviously, the driver's inside there because the driver has to be inside a Hornet. And the goal is that this will look good from, 5 feet away or more. And I do have the headlights still mounted because really a Hornet is not a Hornet without the headlights. Okay, so the body here is pretty roached out, and I just need to sort of reattach that. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pop 2 holes in it with my body reamer, and then probably try and slide a zip tie through. If a zip tie does not work, I've got a little bit of welding wire that'll pop through. So I'm going to set the camera down and we're going to get to work there. All right, we're back. No one ever said it was going to be pretty, but it is going to work, and it's going to keep this body living for a little bit longer. You can also see that I definitely should have cleaned this up before I started, but like I said, it's a basher. It lives in the dirt and it is going to live in the dirt again. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is putting in a new transmission brace. So with the Hornet, I mean, any of these live axle Tamiyas, what happens is they kind of rotate like this too much. And the suspension really should work through the shocks and not just have a lot of slop here. And what this brace does is it keeps the axle actually from moving around too much. These are all just 3D printed. So this is just a 3D printed thing off, I think, Thingiverse that a friend printed for me. This one was a harder plastic that I wanted to try, you know, for a little bit more power transfer. It broke pretty much first run. This one is quite a bit squishier and has some give to it. So it should do the job, like this piece right here, should do the job of keeping the axle from moving, but it shouldn't break. So getting this off involves taking off these 2 screws there and there. So sorry, taking off these 4 screws, and then I'm gonna have to go in and probably take off the shocks, pull the axle back to get to that. But it shouldn't take too long. I mean, Hornets aren't too complicated. So I'm gonna put the camera down again and I'm gonna get to it. Okay, now that I've got the back axle off here, you can see what it was and what it is right now. So what it was a piece that mounts like this with a bit of a notch here for the axle. What it is right now, because this was a brittle plastic, is completely broken. So the goal is to mount this in right there like that. So the goal is, I've brightened this up a little bit, is to mount this piece in here so that the axle actually sits in this notch and it keeps things from moving around too much. Now, as I play with my brightness, as you can see, this needs to mount in here with these 2 screws. And because this is a little bit more pliable, I think it's going to last longer. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to put the camera down. We're going to get that put back in. We're going to put this whole axle back into place. And then we will catch you in the next cut. So we're all back together. Suspension works like this now. There's no more of the axle kind of wrapping into it. It's nice and secure. So if you notice, like I'm trying to wrap the axle right now and it's not wrapping nearly as much as it does in factory form. And you can see that the piece does give a little bit in there. There's a bit of give there, so it's not going to snap, I don't think, but it is going to help with some suspension and power transfer. Again, it's a Hornet. It's meant to bounce like that. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's still going to be a ton of fun to drive, and that didn't take me too long. So if that snaps again, the longest thing actually with this were those tiny little springs that sit in there. I hate those things, but it's all together now, and we just need to finish my wing mount next, and then we'll be all set for this video. Okay, so what I've been doing with this for my wing mount is actually pretty simple. Those of you familiar with the Hornet, there would have been 2 posts here. Those are long gone. What I end up doing is a screw goes in here to hold the body post mount, and the mount shoots up from that. And that's what we've got going on here. So actually, it looks like this just ripped out. It didn't actually break. So I'm going to go ahead and screw it back together and see if we can't get this, this all back together here. All right, I got this back together so I could show you the kind of disaster I've got going on back here. Body pin comes through to here on this screw to mount the body, and then the wing is mounted with these posts. So same thing on this side. Body pin comes through here, and another body pin comes through here, and it keeps everything all together. And then because I got that welding wire, this isn't going to be too bad. Now up front is all factory mounting. That didn't get too thrashed. You got to rotate the headlights so they look good. But back here we've got a kind of rigged together solution for mounting the body. All right, so the Basher Hornet is back together. As you can see, the wing is on there. It's not as nice as it would be if it was the factory mounting post, but those are long gone, and it looks way better than it would without the wing. From here back, like boom, that's the 80s Hornet profile. You've got the graphics kind of going through there. It really does need the wing. Now, like I said, I would at some point like to get another body because this one is getting pretty thrashed, but for a Basher, it's doing what it needs to. I'm also missing a little bit of wing here. I think I have that piece. I might try and put it back on. I'm not really sure. But all said and done, this thing is solid and together. The suspension works like a Hornet does, a good bounce to it, but it should be a bit better with that brace on there. The 15T will keep her humming along, and everything on this one is ready to go. All right, so that's it. That is the first Freezer Top Customs video, and that's the first video on the channel showing sort of my RC hobby and a little bit more than just me working on my truck. If you do want to see some more RC stuff, if there's an RC car in the background that you want to see a little bit on, something looks interesting, definitely let me know. I have kind of an order I'm going to go through getting these RC cars back ready for another bashing season. So I think the next one that's going to be up is probably going to be actually my Traxxas Slash. We're just having a little bit of a radio issue, so I want to dig in and see what's going on there. But I also, for the vintage Tamiya guys, have a TAO2 rally car, and I have a Tamiya Stadium Thunder, which is actually the very first RC car I ever built, and my dad bought it for me probably 22, 23 years ago. So I'm really stoked to sort of get a little bit more RC stuff on the channel. I do want to show you the backyard track, get some clips of some local tracks around here, and really I'm just in this for a lot of fun. So I'm going to keep the RC videos coming. They're probably going to be about once a month, mix them in with some of my truck content, but who knows, if there is a demand for more RC stuff, more sort of keeping 80s bashers out and going, 80s and 90s really, 80s and 90s bashers out on the track, I will definitely do a little bit more RC content. So if you do like what you see here, give me a comment, give me a like, a subscribe, and I'll keep the videos coming. So thanks again for watching this one, and we will be back on 1-to-1 scale vehicles in the next video.